So now this is after lunch, so please stay awake. I know it's hard, but we have the interesting third session. I mentioned responsibility before in the morning, and now we're back to ourselves, a self-reflective session about the terminologist. Who is the terminologist? I sometimes present this image. It was launched by, as far as I know, by Gabriele Zauberer of TermNet. So the terminologist is some kind of eierlegende Wollmilchsau, an animal which can do everything, which has wool, milk, and lays eggs. Is this true or not? Well, we'll discuss it with several very competent speakers. The first one is a trio, Swiss-German trio, with Donatella Pulitano, who has worked a lot on the profile of terminologist from the Chancellerie de Berne in Switzerland. We have Petra from Hochschule Karlsruhe, also one of the authors of the new book on terminology management. And we have Tom Winter from Deutsche Bahn. So I'm very happy that you're here, and you are supposed to have a trialogue somehow. So please welcome. I'll sit here now so I can see you. Yes, good. So let's find the correct one here. Please. There you go. So the floor is yours.
Thank you and good afternoon for giving us the chance to talk once again about one of my favorite subjects, the profile of the terminologist. Some of you have already seen me 2 years ago in Luxembourg, and just to be sure, I'm going to talk in French when it's my turn, but now for the moment I'm just introducing my friends and colleagues, Petra and Tom, not as the professor she is, and not as the terminologist of the German Railway he is, but as the chairman and the chairwoman of two other German institutions which deal with terminology. So in some respect, you have the German-speaking terminological trinity in front of you today. And that's why we are talking. The three of us are going to talk about the profile and what changes with the profile. So Petra Drewer will be representing the Deutsches Institut für Terminologie, Tom Winter the DTT, and myself the Council for Terminology. And the three of us are going to stress about some different aspects of the profile. So I'll give the floor briefly to Tom.
Hello, everyone. Just a short presentation of the German Association for Terminology, the Deutsche Terminologietag. It was created in 1987, and at the moment it's the world's largest professional association for terminology. So long. It's a forum for terminological questions. Oh God. We offer consulting and coordination of terminological processes, and we are independent. And we try to cooperate with other institutions and organizations. Also, we offer training courses and workshops, seminars, and we offer some symposium every 2 years. The last symposium was in this year in Mannheim, so the next one will be in 2020. We publish a lot of literature, different kind of literature. Twice a year we have a journal, the Edition it's called. And of course we are a platform, a forum for oh God. For the people with the words, yeah. Yeah. No, I need something to drink.
You need something to drink right now?
So, yeah.
Okay. So as you can see, the DIT and the DTT, we do not only share some of our letters. The DIT, we even share the logo, but we are the lower part of the jigsaw puzzle piece. But we are, somehow we are the baby sister, because we are a little bit smaller, a lot smaller. But as far as importance is concerned, we are the big brother of the DTT. The DIT, we call ourselves a think tank. We are the advisory board for the DTT. We act as consultants for the DTT executive board. And as far as this symposium is concerned, we are also involved in the theoretical background, in acquiring good speakers and everything around it. So while the DTT is a professional association for those involved in practical terminology work, the DIT is an expert pool, a pool of experts dealing with the theoretical backgrounds, with new tendencies, new trends in terminology, science especially. So, but we work together all the time, and that's why we are here all together today. Okay, so as you can always see, when the little man changes.
Okay, there's still one other acronym you have to learn for today. We've seen so many this morning already, and two now. So the third one is the RADT, which is the Council for German Language Terminology. It's a panel of experts created a while ago already. We are actually having a party next year for our 25th anniversary, and we are going to publish a book on different topics related to everything going on with the Rat. It's actually a panel representing all countries where German is either a national language or an official language, which means also that we have colleagues from South Tyrol, some are here even, but also Belgium or Luxembourg, wherever German is an official language. What we are doing is more on a strategic level. DTD is more practical, more on an operational level. We are on a strategic level. We try to raise awareness for the importance of terminology, which also means that we try to disseminate information on terminology by means of publishing leaflets on terminology, like real, not big books like some of our colleagues, but tiny leaflets that somehow give information on how to work on terminology. So that's the main thing we are doing. And now for the content.
So when we worked on these professional profiles, as you can imagine, it's not easy to describe the professional profile of the terminologist. We all know about it, and we've seen it this morning. You all do a lot of different things. Even if you compare two terminologists working for two different companies, there are worlds between them. And we had to write a lot in order to mention the most important tasks, competences, requirements, etc. But we're still working on it. And today we wanted to present not the whole professional profile again, but we have to focus on 2 or 3 aspects, trends, tendencies that we think might influence the professional profile during the next years. But before we can have a look at the future, we have to go back and look what we've done during the last years, decades, or maybe even 100 years. No, but we have to go back a little bit, because the difference between terms and concepts is very different for us. And at the moment, with all these new developments, we have to focus on this first. As we've seen this morning, I feel very at home with you, because all the screenshots we've seen, all the examples that you presented were concept-oriented. That's not always the case, as we all know, but it makes me happy to see that we are all on the same level here. So if we talk about concept-oriented terminology work, sometimes people ask us, and what about the terms? The terms are more important. And I have to say, no, now and then the concepts are more important than the terms. Because if you want to talk about language, we always have to concentrate on what we are talking about. How can I define a term? I cannot define a term. I have to define the concept, and then I can look for an appropriate term. When you talked about the preferred term, you have to know what's the concept first. And this is why later on Donatella will also explain how experts in the different subjects, fields, and disciplines will work together with terminologists. Okay, so concepts are very important for us, and most of all the concept systems. I don't know if you all work professionally with concept systems. The ISO 704, it's an old draft. We are working on the new version for hundreds of years now. Already knew that terminology is not just a collection of terms, but the most important thing is that the relevant concepts form a system. Yeah, they belong together, there's a classification, and there are relations between all these concepts. Terminologists often focus on hierarchical relations, generic or partitive relations, but of course we know that there are a lot of non-hierarchical relations. We call them associative or pragmatic relations. So we need all this in order to talk about concepts and their relations. And what do we do this for? This is also a quote from the ISO standard. But something we often forget is that, yeah, we have to have a very egoistic view on the thing, because concept systems help terminologists to understand the subject field they are talking about and to make it understandable for others. So you should do it just because you're egoistic. Don't forget the concept systems. More reasons are mentioned here. We need them to clarify the relations, of course. We need them when we want to form or when we want to standardize terminology, when we want to do prescriptive terminology work. At the moment, or always when you want to compare concepts between different languages, you need to have the concept, a definition, and the relations to all the sub- or superordinated concepts. So there are a lot of good reasons to do this hard work. It's hard work to establish a concept system, I know. And a generic concept system could look like this. Don't be afraid, I don't want to talk about transistors now, but I took a technical example. So, and we are convinced that you can't talk about the terminology, you can't talk about the term field effect transistor if you don't know that there's a superordinate or subordinated concepts. You need to know the relations, you need to know the concepts, otherwise you won't be able to find the appropriate term, to define a preferred term. Sometimes we even mention the criteria we used to build up this concept system. For example, from transistor going down, if I'm reading it top down, the physical principle helps me to define or to recognize two very important types of transistors. And then you can have a look at the gate construction, and then you've got junction FETs or insulated gate FETs. So this is the way a conceptual system grows. And after doing this, you can be sure that the terminologist who did this is an expert in transistors. Maybe you need experts in order to help you to define or to have a good definition, but we hope that terminologists are not they do the linguistic part, but they don't know anything about the discipline. That's a pity. So what we want to point out is that terminologists have to be experts in the subject field they are working on. Okay, you can put notations. There are a lot of good things you can do with concept systems. And in terminology, we always talk about concept systems, but some people talk about ontologies, referring to these constructions. And sometimes they call them ontologies or taxonomies or classification systems. There are a lot of synonyms or partial synonyms. But when we talk about ontologies today, we mean something else. We mean ontology in the way it is used in information science and information technology. And that's something else. Ontologies are machine readable, that's very important. And they are made for machines, not for humans. And what has to be facilitated is something like automated reasoning, machine problem solving. And what information science tries here is to build up representations of knowledge that help machines to do kind of artificial intelligence work. Yeah, that's something else. But as we can see, the components, what does an ontology consist of? We've got classes, that's what we call concepts. We've got attributes, of course we know what characteristics and properties are. This is terminology work. There are relations between the concepts, but there's a difference in the format. When we build up a conceptual system, in general it's a graphical representation. In information science, we've got different formats like RDF or OWL, and this is because they are made for machines. So we've got the main difference between ontologies and concept systems is a target group. Both of them try to specify relationships between concepts. Both deal with knowledge, not with linguistic questions, but the difference is their target group. While ontologies are made for machines, when we build up concept systems, we do this for human users. So this is one of the main differences. Both worlds can profit or can benefit from each other. For example, we can benefit from ontologies by presenting our terminological data as an improvement. On the other side, we can also improve our terminological data with the techniques and the formats used in these ontologies. On the other side, terminologists can improve ontologies because information scientists, they don't know much about synonyms or equivalents. Yeah, they want to have one representing designation for each concept, and the rest they don't care. For the rest they don't care. But we know a lot about synonyms, of equivalents. We know a lot more about conceptual relations than information scientists do. So we have to work together, and we don't have to see us as competitors, but we have to collaborate. So this is just one thing.
Voilà, donc, comme annoncé, je préfère parler en français quand même. Voilà, donc le nouveau terminologue, on l'a déjà vu il y a 2 ans, a donc une double facette, une double casquette. Il est à la fois un travailleur de la langue, donc un language worker, mais il est aussi un travailleur de la connaissance, un knowledge worker. Parce que justement, il ajoute une valeur au travail en explicitant la connaissance, en la formulant en toutes lettres, en mots, et aussi en formalisant la langue, parce que grâce justement aux arbres de domaine qu'a montré Petra, on a justement cette possibilité de formaliser la connaissance avec des structures. On verra demain qu'il y a des façons beaucoup plus grandes, beaucoup plus avancées de montrer ces relations grâce par exemple à WIPO-Perl, mais la base de WIPO-Perl, c'est quand même aussi les arbres de domaine comme on vient de voir. Et surtout, le nouveau terminologue, il est capable de faire face à différentes situations, surtout du point de vue justement qu'il y a maintenant de la clientèle qui change. On a donc le terminologue qui maintenant est au milieu entre langue et connaissance et qui devient un peu la personne ressource, la personne de référence pour toutes ces questions liées à la fois à la langue et à la connaissance. Qu'est-ce qui a changé? Nous l'avons vu, nous en avons parlé déjà un peu. Le terminologue de nos jours n'est plus le terminologue qui fait des fiches. Vous avez tous affaire avec la terminologie et je crois que si je vous demande est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un d'entre vous qui ne fait que des fiches, je ne pense pas qu'il y aurait beaucoup de personnes qui diraient oui. Donc on fait tous beaucoup plus que des fiches, au point que quelquefois même les fiches passent au second plan. On n'a plus tellement le temps de faire des fiches, tellement il y a d'autres tâches qu'il faut faire. Mais les fiches, on sait, c'est la représentation, c'est le résultat, l'aboutissement du travail terminologique. Donc il reste important de faire des fiches, d'alimenter les banques de terminologie. Mais c'est vrai que si on veut engager un jeune terminologue et on lui dit, voilà, viens faire la terminologie chez nous, ce n'est pas simplement pour lui dire, viens faire toute la journée des fiches, mais on fait beaucoup plus parce qu'on s'occupe de tout ce qui est informatique, donc tout ce qui est outillage, terminologie outillée. Il faut s'occuper de mettre en place et de maintenir les machines, de les gérer. D'alimenter à la limite d'autres outils qui n'ont rien à faire avec la terminologie et peut-être même pas rien avec la traduction, mais qui ont besoin de la terminologie pour fonctionner. C'est notre rôle à nous quand même de créer ces passerelles. le terminologue est impliqué dans tout le workflow de la traduction, pas seulement pour livrer les termes qu'on utilise pendant la traduction, mais vraiment impliqué aussi dans tout ce qui est processus. Et nous savons aussi que le matériel linguistique avec lequel nous travaillons change aussi parce qu'il change à une vitesse incroyable, il change toujours plus vite, ce qui veut dire que les sujets sont de plus en plus riches en terminologie, ce qui veut dire aussi que le cycle de vie des termes change beaucoup plus souvent, et c'est pas pour rien que Henrik ce matin a posé la question de savoir comment est-ce qu'on met à jour tout ça. Ça aussi, ça implique des activités en plus qui ne consistent pas simplement à faire des fiches, mais vraiment à mettre à jour des connaissances. Et du coup, on a une clientèle qui change aussi, parce que contrairement à il y a encore 10 ou 20 ans, mais bon, passons sur l'âge ou sur l'expérience, disons, mais il y a déjà quelques années de ça, les traducteurs avaient vraiment besoin des terminologues parce qu'ils ne savaient pas eux-mêmes faire les recherches. Aujourd'hui, les traducteurs, normalement, savent faire les recherches, ce qui veut dire que les premiers clients des terminologues ne sont plus des personnes qui ont des connaissances en terminologie. On a beaucoup plus à faire avec une clientèle variée qui a des besoins complètement différents, qui n'a plus besoin de la terminologie thématique classique, mais qui a besoin de solutions rapides, comme on disait ce matin, par tweet, donc si possible dans les 30 secondes, a besoin de résultats rapides. Donc en fait, la terminologie ponctuelle prend un peu le pas sur la terminologie thématique de nos jours. Donc tout ça qui change, on a besoin de résoudre des problèmes rapidement. Ce qui veut dire que les terminologues, plus que jamais, doivent interagir et doivent se faire comprendre par des personnes qui finalement ne savent pas trop ce que c'est la terminologie, qu'il faut donc en quelque sorte former aussi son public, il faut lui expliquer ce que c'est une définition ou pourquoi un terme et un synonyme, c'est pas n'importe comment, et des informations comme ça. Donc il faut expliquer aux clients, à la clientèle, au public cible de nos activités terminologiques, il faut vraiment interagir et faire comprendre ce qu'on fait nous, mais aussi comprendre ce qu'ils veulent eux. Donc il faut qu'il y ait un échange d'informations et de formation. Et une chose qu'on a remarquée, parce que on se connaît depuis très longtemps à l'AET, mais c'est vrai que on voit quelquefois qu'il y a déjà des tendances ou des études qui ont été faites, mais comme, heureusement, je trouve, on ne parle pas tous anglais, et que par contre, malheureusement, on pourrait dire, même si c'est pas plus mal qu'on garde sa langue maternelle, l'accès aux études qui ont été faites dans toutes ces problématiques de terminologie ne sont pas toujours faciles. C'est-à-dire que si ça se trouve, des problèmes qu'on a déjà résolus quelque part sont encore des problèmes très présents à d'autres endroits. Et là, il manque cet échange, donc cet échange de renseignements et d'informations, parce que si chacun lit dans sa langue et puis en anglais, ça limite peut-être un peu l'accès aux informations de ce qui est déjà fait un peu partout, pour voir s'il y a des solutions déjà faites. Voilà. Maintenant, je passe la parole aux praticiens.
I have no idea what you said. I hope it fits. Just a question, is it 5 minutes more or 5 minutes left? Okay, so we'll have a short look, and I'm the living proof of what both colleagues told you. I'm going to show you how terminology is used at Deutsche Bahn, because it's shifting. It's used, sure, in the traditional way as a translation-based process. The terminology is maintained in a database which is connected to the translation memory system. We have our central or single source of truth, our corporate language, which everybody has access to it. It's called DB Language Portal. Just Google it. And it is used for training machine translation engines. In earlier days, 2 years ago, we started with statistical machine translation engines. Now it's neural machine translation engines, and terminology is not that important on it. So you use it just to keep the corpora consistent. it's not, yeah, but it's shifting because terminology is more and more used in a non-translational way. For example, there's a API to authoring tools. We managed to optimize our internal search engine by importing synonyms, for example. Chatbots also, the result is better because we just imported the synonyms from all synonyms from the database. We use it on voice recognition and many other automatization projects that are going on at the moment. And it really is increasing. It's kind of a race. A lot of people who try to arrange new projects, new applications, don't know about terminology. And I do not know about every project and application that is built right now. So if they don't know about terminology before I get to know the project, we have a problem. Because if they want to use, if they see that language could be put a value to the application, they would use any language they can find, or any they just extract terms from any corpora they can find, and that wouldn't be our corporate language. So it wouldn't fit anymore. So for me it's very important to put our corporate language, our database, in every project, in every corporate application, which is to be built from now on. Yeah. So there is a need to make it machine readable. At the moment I do it by exporting it and importing it again, or via API, but my IT colleagues always say, I need more. Yeah? I can't use it in total in that form. So we need to make it machine readable, and that's what Petra and Donatella said. My dream, my vision would be to merge those two worlds. The terminology made for people, for humans, and the terminology in a structured for the IT, for machines. Is there a way to put it together? Like having one database as an ontology with different interfaces. One interface for our translators to maintain the database in cooperation with our specialists of different fields. One interface for the usage of like our corporate language, and like APIs to integrate those databases in a way it is needed into new applications and new projects. That would be it's a wishful vision. Perhaps it's a visionary wish, I don't know. But it would help to transform. Now, at the moment, there's a lot of time put into the extraction, the data exchange, and I would prefer to put this time into the data maintenance.
Et donc, pour conclure, oui, j'en ai pour 30 secondes. Pour conclure, donc, ce qu'il faut faire, et ce que nous sommes déjà en train de faire en tant que Conseil pour la terminologie germanophone, le RAT, qui se rencontrera la semaine prochaine, d'ailleurs, à Berne. Nous sommes en train de mettre à jour le profil du terminologue, qui a quand même déjà 14 ans, et dans un but, donc, d'ajouter ce côté qui est connaissance, qui va au-delà donc des activités purement terminologiques, mais qui va donc surtout aussi dans la gestion de la connaissance outillée et avec justement des éléments et des compétences qui dépassent de loin ce qu'on fait actuellement dans les cursus universitaires de formation en terminologie. Merci beaucoup.
Dankeschön. I will allow at least one question. This is an important subject, and then we continue with the other speakers. So if there's a question, I can promise you I will come back to this point at the end of the closing of the summit. I will come back to this question. So if you have questions, not now, but you can think until tomorrow, we can discuss it again. Unless there's a question now. Question? Quelqu'un? Anna?
Thank you. I agree with everything you've said, and I think all of us have the same experience. I wouldn't say that I don't agree, but I would slightly change the wording when you say that a terminologist today needs to have an in-depth knowledge of tools, application, and processes. I would say that, for myself, I would say in-depth understanding. I have come across in my work that I need to know about different tools, but people start to expect you to develop these tools.
Okay.
But we are not IT professionals, and neither I want to be. So this is just something that I would say. Maybe an in-depth understanding instead of, yes, we are preparing terminology for CEO and ontologies and whatever, but I don't think that a terminologist would need to know how to make an ontology.
No.
What do you say? How do you feel about
knowledge
it?
doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make them, but from my point of view and in my experience, it's very important to know how to talk to the people developing these tools. And to talk to them, you have to kind of know what would be feasible, because otherwise you get all the IT people telling you, oh no, it's not possible. It's like ages ago, with the accents on letters. Oh, you're not allowed to use accents because it doesn't work. And then you go, sorry, UTF-8. Things like that. So if you have to know your things so that you can interact and talk to the people who do the actual job, I'd say. Yeah. Okay.
A final question, a short one.
Yes, I wanted to ask pretty much the same questions from a teacher point of view, because as you said, at the university, even if we teach concept systems, we don't teach ontologies in the informatics sense. So sometimes we can show them how it works, but that's all.
Yeah, but it's just a change in format, yes. Nothing else.
Yes.
Terminologists are always very shy. I don't know how to do this.
No, I mean, we know how to use it. We know how to consult them, but we can't build them. And our students even less.
Okay,
this
so
is
but
the problem.
Just don't be too shy. You have to be brave, and your students have to be brave as well. By telling everybody, I know how to do this, and I know what an ontology is, and it's just a format. This is the conceptual system, and so, okay, you can do the programming, that's nothing. It's just a format. And terminologists tend to feel a little bit humble.
Yes, because there's also in informatics a trend, 20 years ago you have analyst, informaticien analyst, and you had the programmer. And now they have to be both. And I think it is coming upon us also.
Yeah.
So we'll have to continue. I thank you again, the trio, Swiss-German trio. Thank you very much. Danke sehr.